Welcome to the Self-Care 101 podcast with your host, straight-talking life coach, Puja McClymont. This show provides simple self-development, supporting you to embody your self-worth so that you can live the happier, more fulfilled life that you deserve without burning out. Thank you so much for listening today. Hello, my lovelies. It's season 2, episode 4. Today I'm going to explore how a lack of self-worth shows up in our lives. Now, I hosted a masterclass on this topic recently, and I want to share some of the points with you here today. The attendee feedback was awesome, and many of them discovered a few revelations whilst I was presenting, which is always so cool. Now, when you get a chance, if you're using Apple Podcasts, please can you leave me a review on the app so that others can find the show? I would be most grateful. Also, who's on Clubhouse? I'm on there and I host a weekly lunchtime show on Wednesdays called Pause with Puja, which I would love for you to join in with. Just find and follow me there at Puja McClymont so you'll get notified when I'm live, or sign up to my email list and I'll send you the details. The show's kind of like the podcast, but you get to talk back. It's chill, fun and informative, so I hope I see you there. Right, now let's get on with today's show. So in the masterclass, I sort of started the whole thing with a quote. Now, I love a quote. If you follow me on Instagram, you will know that I love a quote. But this particular quote was one that I wanted to share because it's the one that's been sort of following me around since I set up my coaching practice. And I think that it actually embodies the work that I actually do. So here's a quote. Maybe it isn't about becoming anything. Maybe it's about unbecoming everything that isn't really you so that you can be who you were meant to be in the first place. I think that's a really fierce one, actually. And it really does set the tone for this kind of work, this self-worth work, because it's not about changing who you are. There are fundamental things about you that cannot be changed and shouldn't be changed. It really is more about finding out who you are at your core as opposed to who you think you are because of your early role models or society making you think you're a certain person. Because essentially, we tend to get lost with who we are when we haven't been given the opportunity to discover ourselves from a young age. So what is self-worth? I know I've been talking about it quite a bit. If you follow me on other platforms, you'll know that it's just like my thing right now, but it really is my thing going forward because this is the main body of the work that I do. It's just not something I've been talking about as much. Now, self-worth and self-esteem often get confused or interchanged, or people say self-esteem as self-worth, but there is a very, very slight difference. So I want to read this quote by Dr. Christina Hibbert that she says about self-worth. I think it's the best definition that I can find. So self-esteem is what we think and feel and believe about ourselves. Self-worth is recognizing that I am greater than all of those things. It is a deep knowing that I am of value and that I am lovable and necessary to this life and of incomprehensible worth. I mean, I love that. I would love to be able to say that to everybody who came my way. But yes, very much about who you are at your core outside of anything that you achieve externally, which is pretty much where sort of self-esteem lies, being about what you've achieved in life. So self-worth is about even without those things, you're still of value. Now, when we do this, we reduce the pressure that we put on ourselves to link our outer accomplishments to who we are, because that's all they are. They're just outer accomplishments. So even if we don't have them, we're still of worth. I akin this self-worth work with balance. So it's all about having balance, but balance is not something that is static. Balance is something that is constantly moving, but you need to, in order to have balance, you need to have a core foundation. And that is where I'm coming from here. So feeling good about yourself is the foundation for positive thinking and living a happy life. There's a lovely quote by Gandhi which goes, happiness is when what you think, what you say, and what you do are in harmony. And I just love that. I think it really epitomizes what balance means. It's not a static state. It's not something that, oh, everything is just perfect right now and I just want to keep it perfect right now. Because you know this, none of us can achieve that level of perfection in our lives, no matter how hard we try. Let's just look at it in simple terms, right? I want to wake up at 5 o'clock. I want to do my exercise. I want to meditate. I want to journal. I want to exercise, have a shower, have a nice, delicious, healthy breakfast. Then I'm going to get dressed. Then I'm going to go to work. Then it's a nice idea. But we can't all live in that fashion. We can't live a linear life. So it's always about balancing all those things, knowing when something's off with you and recalibrating where you need to. So this sort of leads into the biggest thing in order to start creating this sort of foundation of worth is self-awareness. If you don't know who you are and where you came from, how do you know where you're going? Now, by raising your self-awareness of your life's experiences and defining the difference between you and others, only then can you start creating and aligning your values to who you want to be today. So when people are saying to me, oh, I don't know who I am anymore, I want to find myself, this, that, and the other, the first step is to raise your awareness. In order to learn about who you actually are, you've got to think about what you've been told as a child, what you've experienced through society, what society has demanded of you, and then seeing what actually feels good to you. And this is very much about taking yourself out of your head and into your heart. We're going into feelings, because to know who you are is to feel. And when something's not right. When you're in a conversation with somebody or you're about to do a task, you've been invited to something, and there's something in your body that goes, nah, I don't want to do this. But you still go ahead and do it. And that is coming from a place of worth linked to behavior. So this is why raising your self-awareness will help you start understanding your patterns of behavior better. The second one is to trust in yourself, right? In order to create balance, lay those foundations, you've got to find a way to trust in yourself. Now, to trust in yourself is to raise your self-awareness. So once you've raised your self-awareness, you can start opening up your intuition. You start learning to feel your feelings as opposed to lead from your head, get more into your heart. And when you start to do this, you trust in yourself. You know who you are. You know what you want from life. And then you'll only do the things that align with that truth. So if anything irks you, you won't be doing it because it doesn't align with your baseline, with your truth, with how you want to live your life and who you are. And the third one, in order to create this balance, is growth, but it's acceptance that you are constantly growing, that you will change and life is going to change you, and that it's okay to adapt as you need to. I think we think that life is going to be a certain way, and then we get into that point of life like adulthood and we realize no, it's not. It's not constant. It's actually a lot easier being a child. You have a very fixed schedule of life. But when you become an adult, stuff starts happening. People die. Money needs to be made. Houses want to be bought. You might be moving country. There's just so many things. Having kids, having partners, maintaining friendships, maintaining other relationships. There's so much there. There's no manual. So... But throughout that whole thing, you're growing, other people are growing, some people aren't growing, but the acceptance of the fact that you are going to grow and you are going to change is what is really important for you to align yourself with yourself, because that way you are more able to give yourself love and compassion. Now, what happens when you don't have this foundation? You are going to keep repeating the same cycles over and over. I don't feel I need to elaborate on that point. If you're having the same conversations with the same people about the same stuff in your life that you're not happy with, you just keep repeating the same cycles because you don't have a foundation. You won't up-level your mindset, which is what will help you in problem solving. So whenever you face adversity, you'll go straight to looking at a solution naturally. But if you don't up-level your mindset, it's not going to happen. You won't ever be truly confident and in control of your life. We say we're confident. Oh, I'm confident in this, or that person's really confident. But are you? Are you? Are you in control of your life? Are you making decisions based on your intuition? Or how are you doing all of this? You're going to constantly listen to your negative self-talk. I've done it. I'm sure many of you have done it or probably still do it. It's too easy to listen to negative self-talk, but it doesn't serve you. I don't need to stress this point anymore. I think there's plenty of shows that I've said this in, but constantly listening to your negative self-talk is just a self-fulfilling prophecy. Your life won't be yours. You will live under the shadows of your early role models and society. So we're talking about parents, we're talking about teachers, we're talking about any influential grown-up in your life as a child has basically set the standard for who you are without letting you be who you are. And then your search for happiness will never be content because you align it to outer achievement. So you're basically attributing happiness to stuff. Now, unfortunately, happiness doesn't work that way. Happiness isn't a destination. Happiness is a state of being. It's a state of contentment. And this contentment is based in gratitude. And I've heard a lot of people doing gratitude journals. I know the pandemic has thrown up a lot of this kind of work on yourself stuff, but I don't believe that people believe in the things that they're saying. To be grateful is not just to write 3 things down that you're grateful for. It's to actually believe that you're grateful for those things. Something to think about. Now, with the work that I do, I am big on getting to the root of the problem. I don't believe in putting plasters on stuff. Now, I know that we have stuff going on in our lives and that there is, with any of this sort of self-development work, there will always be some firefighting that needs to be done with your current challenges. Totally acceptable. I understand that and I'm not discounting it. But if you do have problems now and you're saying to yourself, you don't have time to do this work, well, you kind of need to do this work, because if you're coming to these kind of shows, listening to this podcast, listening to Jay Shetty, listening to Brené Brown, listening to Robin Sharma, whatever you're doing to up-level yourself, yet your life hasn't changed, it's because you're not fixing the root cause of what's going on. So we've got to look at those root causes. I love this quote by Dr. Deepa Apte. There's an episode, I think episode 22, where I talk to her about this. But each individual has their own balance. The aim is to find that balance and work from there. So this is very much what I'm talking about with regards to laying a foundation, a strong foundation which you can balance from, essentially, in your life. So what I'm going to talk about now is identifying the root causes of your problems versus putting plasters on your problems. Now, I understand that working on yourself sounds like a luxury. I mean, who has the time really to find out who they are? It's much easier to coast through life hoping that things are going to get better or change without changing anything. Waiting for that miracle. Okay, but there's no miracle, is there? However, this is a very true, real truth that many of us accept as reality, but it can be different. You can be different and you can be happy. Thing is, if you don't identify the root causes of your current actions and cut ties with the beliefs that don't serve you anymore, you're going to just keep putting on plasters onto your problems. So they'll be better for a while, but you'll encounter the problem again and again, which is what's going to make you feel frustrated and never aligned with what you really want. Your head and your heart need to connect in order for this to happen. Now, most of us lead from our heads, which is why we never feel happy, even though we should, right? So if you think that, I've had a job through the pandemic, so I should be grateful for that. I've had a roof over my head. I've been able to eat. I've been able to shop. I've been able to, get a sneaky weekender in when lockdown was lifted. I should be grateful. But because we're leading from our heads, we still feel miserable about our lives. Now, constantly searching for the next thing that's going to make us happy doesn't work, because happiness isn't a destination. It's a place of contentment. It's felt without achievement. And it's a state of being which comes from laying these strong foundations down for your life. So like I say, this is not to discount what is important to you. So if you have goals that you want to achieve in life, that is perfectly okay. You can do this self-development work alongside stuff going on in your life. So let's talk about the role of goals first, right? You need goals. Without them, we are just victims to whatever life throws at us. Goals give us direction, they give us purpose, they give us motivation, drive, and passion. So we need goals, right? We need goals. That's part of our existence. We can put that into our wheel of balance. Your mental and physical health. Now, if you're feeling like your mental or physical health is currently compromised, now understandably this becomes a priority, but you have to start somewhere. So why not with building the foundations to help you improve your health? Now, medication is your plaster. So whilst your health is being managed by medication, you can build the foundation to make yourself stronger. The problem with Western society is that it promotes presentation of symptoms rather than prevention. And this work that I'm talking to you about is all about prevention. And the third thing that's really important to a lot of us is money, right? It's money. I know we might feel comfortable to talk about money, but it's the reality of the world we live in, and it's what gives us the freedom to do stuff. Now, you must understand that money is not a goal. It's actually an outcome of a goal. You need to work at something for money to be provided, but without aligning your values to your goals, money just stays the same. You end up working harder for more. Now, that isn't freedom. And this is going to lead to resentment, which is going to lead to frustration, which is going to feed our self-doubt. And then it creates the feelings of lack and unhappiness. So those three factors are really important to understand the roots of, rather than putting plasters on them. They are things that are important in our lives that we are all sort of, affected by day to day. So they can't be discounted. They still have to be worked on. But there is a difference between really working on this sort of stuff for ourselves or just putting a plaster on something. Now, how is this showing up in your life? In Ayurveda, there are 4 facets of life. No, let me say that again. The foundation of What's wrong with me today? The foundation of all facets of life is health. That is what Ayurveda says. And there are 4 key pillars that are used to determine what we need to do as human beings in consciousness on this earth in order to live that life of balance. And remember, balance is not static. It is a constant. It's always up and down, up and down. But in order for there to ever be balance, there has to be a foundation. So how is this showing up in your life? Now, the foundation of all facets of life is health, because health is really all we have. Health is the only thing that we're born with. The rest is material, and it's achieved through strategic goal setting. Even love has quite an element of strategic goal setting. Now, if we look at life by these 4 pillars, you'll soon see where your problems lie. And the trick here is to do all of these simultaneously from a place of knowing who you are and what's important to you. So it doesn't mean that you're not going to have problems. It doesn't mean that once you recognize your self-worth or you know who you are, or you find yourself, that you're not going to have problems. Of course you're going to have problems, but you are going to be a really strong individual to accept that problems will occur, that life is not a constant state of bliss, but that the bliss is within the chaos. I might have to write that down. So the first pillar is to carry out our duties and responsibilities to ourselves and others. And in modern language, I would say that this is self-care, putting our needs first, being good to others, doing our duties at home, in work, in relationships with our community. Second pillar is to create affluence and achieve success. You see, money. If you're not of sound health in both body and mind, how can you achieve the material success that you desire? It's basically running a car without gas. The third one is to have creative, positive desire. This is about your mindset. If I look after my body and mind, look for opportunities for growth, I can and will have what I want from life. This is about not blaming others. This is about taking control of your choices by connecting deeply with who you are. And the fourth one is to have harmony of body, mind, and spirit. or soul. And that is about accepting that your life is precious and it can be taken from you without notice. Being grateful, connecting to your spirit, what makes you come alive, and bringing more of that into your life and the world. And this is what solidifies your purpose. It gives you motivation and discipline. So how might misalignment to your self-worth be showing up for you in love, life, and work? Let's start with love. Now, I'm going to touch on 3 examples of each type of relationship you might want to work on. And there are, of course, other ways that you might be struggling and that the struggles will show up, but these are going to be obviously unique to you. So I've looked at 3 of the most common that I've seen in my coaching practice. So if we think about if we're single and you're looking to attain a partner, these are where you are, these 3 things are going to be where you are misaligned with your self-worth. When you feel like you're not good enough for who you want. So you want a particular type of person, but you don't think in your heart that you deserve that kind of love. The second one is if you keep meeting the same types of people, you keep getting the same result. You want something different, but you're not changing anything to get it. And the third one is expecting them to make you happy. And this is very, very common. I need them to make me happy. Now, this isn't your fault. This is a societal expectation which has been reinforced by advertising. You know what I'm talking about here. You know, when people say, when you find someone you love, then you'll be happy. But the thing is, only you can make yourself happy because everything else is a bonus. Now, if you're in a relationship, how your lack of self-worth or your misalignment to your worth shows up is by not accepting growth, not allowing each other to grow. If you don't accept that you are both likely to grow or even not grow, if you don't support each other in both, you aren't in a relationship based in love, because love is compassion and acceptance. So you know what it's like when you're with a partner for a while and then one of you changes and you think, why aren't you changing with me? But that's not their journey. They're not on that growth journey. You're on that growth journey. If you want them to come with you, you've got to tell them what you're doing and bring them along for the ride. And if you don't tell them, you can't then be annoyed with them because you're the one who's choosing to grow and change, not them. And if you truly love your partner at the core, those sorts of things won't bother you, but they do show up. They will bother you and they come out obviously in arguments. Second way is when you lose who you are together. Now, it is easy when you're in a relationship to get caught up in life and lose who you are together as a couple, especially if you have kids. Now, you can easily lose the foundations of your love whilst you're trying to juggle life's many facets. So it's very important that when you are having fights and things that you consider, are you still doing the things that you need to do to maintain your relationship? And the third one is about not being honest. So when you're unhappy in your relationship, if you've done all that you can do in your relationship and you stay with that person, then you're not being true to yourself. Because sometimes we tend to rationalize factors like having kids, money, homes, and thinking, oh no, I can't leave because of all those things. But then what's the cost of that? Judgment, failure, negative self-talk. You've got to learn to connect to your heart's desire. And if it's not showing up, then you do have choices to make. This is how not aligning to your self-worth is going to show up in love. Now, the second way is through life. So life is a broad term, and I use it basically to separate love and work, because love and work take up a huge chunk of our brains. But the 2 main topics that I cover in life are health, more so your physical, mental health, and goals, because we need goals to keep us motivated, like I said earlier, and stuff. And health is, without it, there is nothing. So look, like with love, I can't cover every single area, but these are the most common ones that manifest in the disconnection between head and heart. So let's start with health. So one of the things that I find people talking about a lot is chronic illness. Now, when you accept chronic illness, apart from untreatable conditions, most ailments can be treated or prevented. Now, my focus is obviously always going to be on the latter. It's prevention. But you can also prevent if you're being treated for something. So if you want something different, you've got to believe that it's possible. So let me give you an example of anxiety. So many people claim to have chronic anxiety, and the label itself causes more anxiety. But if you work on reducing your causes of anxiety, so going back to the roots, you start changing your perception towards the ailment. It becomes more manageable rather than defining who you are and what you do in life. Taking back control. Second one is body and mind. Now, this is something that I see commonly in the West, separating body and mind. How can you separate them? They're connected. They're one and the same. If you don't connect the two, you are never really conscious. Because in order to have good health, you have to accept, love, and nurture the two as one. And this is where we work on things like self-doubt, overthinking, procrastination, expectations, inner critic, and all of that annoying stuff that holds us back. Because our emotions, the way we think, actually creates the physical symptoms that we see. Now, let me give you a quick example, especially in women. So when women are stressed, anyone who's stressed will overproduce cortisol. And cortisol is one of those annoying hormones. Obviously, it's the stress response. But if we're not really having that life or death moment, cortisol doesn't really have anywhere to go. So what it does is it makes you want to eat carbs and donuts and things like that. So you'll eat the carbs and donuts and cakes and things. But because it's not nutritious food and you didn't need it, your body then shows it to you through belly fat. And I'm talking about the lower belly fat on women. That's how cortisol manifests. I have that tire myself because I have stressed a lot in my life. And that is where it shows up. So then we start treating the symptom. So the symptom is the belly fat. So how I would treat that belly fat would be to go on a diet and to do exercise. That's how I would treat it and hope that it goes down. God knows if it ever will. But, there's always lipo. But the cause is the stress, right? So I have to actually change my lifestyle. I've got to figure out what I stress about, why I stress so much, and find better ways to manage the stress. And that's the difference. And the third one is compassion. Compassion for you and others in any area of your life, because without it, you're going to blame and be the victim. When you become more self-aware of who you are and that everyone is different, it will allow you to live with less frustration and upset. You just can't keep blaming other people for your own life. So let's move to goals. Now, the first point in goals is about dreams. Now, you dream and you wish and you hope for a miracle, but you don't actually create goals which show you how you can actually achieve the dream. Second one is wrong outcomes. So you focus on the wrong outcome. When you're focusing on having more money, for example, it doesn't work because the feeling associated with money is greed, which is technically a negative feeling. Even though it affords you freedom, the actual feeling, greed, is negative. So the focus needs to be on how you're going to feel when you achieve that goal. And then in this case, the money's going to come. And the third misalignment is self-belief. You don't really believe that you deserve them. You don't really believe that you deserve your goals. So this falls into your limiting beliefs, your old stories, your templates. And most of the time, these are formed in childhood or as a result of trauma as an adult. But either way, they can be changed and they need to be if you really, really want to achieve these goals. And lastly, I'm going to go to work, and I've split work into having a career and being a business owner because I know both come to me in my work and on the podcast. So the first thing that I'm sure many of us have experienced is not enjoying work. We choose paths at some point in our lives, but we do grow and we change. But as we only know one type of work or the work that we've been doing so far, we've still got bills to pay. So we don't take risks or even explore other options. And we end up accepting that this is life. So that is misalignment to your worth. Did you really think that life was going to be work hard in a miserable job for, 40 years or so? I don't think so. I think we had a different fantasy as kids. Second one is validation, working for validation. So when we're working late or we over deliver, we say yes all the time, we compromise our own lives with we think we're doing a good job, but then we never actually receive the recognition that we think we deserve because we're searching for validation from the wrong person. Now, this is about our expectations of ourselves and where this comes from. So, like I talked about in the previous episode with my mum, it comes from childhood, and for many women, it is from our mothers because they're our first role models. And the third point is thinking that it's too late, accepting a life of misery. Why would you do that to yourself? There are a number of options available, but you need to uplevel your mindset, align your heart and your mind, and create the desire that will drive you towards the change that you want in your job, in work, in your career. It's never too late. So if you're a business owner, these three things are the common things that come up when you are misaligned with your worth. Failure, fearing success even. All the parts that make your business work, like the marketing, the networking, the basics, not owning your role as a business owner and accepting your negative self-talk. Because whenever you do this, it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. I'm not good at marketing. I'm not great at it. So then you won't do the marketing, you won't get the customers, and your business fails. Ta-da! Second point. Decisions, not being confident enough to make the right decisions. Now, you're doubting yourself, your abilities, which comes in as imposter syndrome. You're predicting behaviors of other people without the facts. Essentially, you're directing and starring in the movie of your life. It's not possible to do that. You've got to be more confident and feel that confidence. And that confidence only comes when you know who you are. And the third one is priorities, wanting the business to work, and you want your life to be perfect at the same time, but you don't prioritize what's important to you to get there, like spending time with your family, on your self-care, in your relationships. You fall into comparison. You distract yourself from your path because you're not actually actively taking the actions that are going to help you prioritize what really, really is important to you. So I've covered a lot in this show. This is a lot of what I talked about in my masterclass, but I thought that it was really valuable. So I wanted to share it with you guys today to understand, how self-worth is showing up in love, life, and work. If there are any tweaks you could do to your life today to make it a little bit better, then hopefully there's some tips in there. And I guess I want to just leave you with this last, statement. It's a statement, right? Yeah, I'm going to leave you with this statement. Things always work out one way or another. With that foundation set, enter a state of mind where you expect some unexpected things to happen for you. Believe in shifts so massive that by this time next year, your life is unrecognizable. You've been piecing together small wins, and they add up. You're also due for some changes that shake up your world to better match your vision. You deserve that kind of liberty. Thank you for listening to the Self-Care 101 podcast. If you enjoyed the show, please subscribe, rate and review over on Apple Podcasts so that other people like you can find the show. To connect with me, please head over to my website, PujaMcClymont.com, and sign up to my weekly email called Pause with Puja, where I share coaching tips to help you get through the week and improve your well-being. When you sign up, you'll be given access to 2 self-development classes, one about living and working with purpose, and the other about being the leader of your life. And for daily inspiration, please follow me on Instagram at Puja McClymont. Sending love and talk to you soon.